Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Bergen County chapter of Adult Children of Aging Parents. We're so happy you can join us tonight. As many of you know, we normally meet at the Paramus Library on the second Monday of every month, but the venue was unfortunately not available this month. And in sticking with our commitment to provide a program for you every month, we decided to try this live streaming format instead. I hope you enjoy it. It'll be on YouTube and Facebook, and you can always go back and rewatch it if you miss any of it. Next month, we will be back live at the Paramus Library. It's going to be August 12th. Our program is going to be Advanced Planning, Your Parents' Legal and Financial Documents, with one of our sponsors presenting Stephen Katz. So for those of you who are not familiar with ACAP, ACAP's mission is to provide information, resources, support, and community as we care for our aging parents and ourselves. I am the chapter coordinator for the Bergen County chapter, but I'm also joined by 10 other senior service professionals who dedicate their time to bring these programs together and bring you the information and resources you need. I'd love to thank our sponsors, one of who is co-presenting with me tonight, for helping us bring these programs to you free. If it wasn't for their financial support, we would not exist. So thank you, any sponsors who are listening, and thank you especially Carrie, who is co-presenting with me tonight. So tonight's program is Residential Options When Home No Longer Meets Your Parents' Needs. As parents age, they may face a need or a desire to change their housing arrangements, such as needing to move to a new residence that is more accessible or more substantial medical and assistive services, or maybe they just want to age in place. So tonight we're going to kind of discuss the process of how to get them from point A to B. We're going to talk about issues and resources available and things to consider and questions to ask, regardless of where you are on your caregiving journey. So I said before, I am Lorraine Montalbano, the chapter coordinator. I am certified senior housing professional with Keller Williams Village Square Realty, and I work to educate, empower, and equip mature homeowners so they can make informed decisions on their housing needs while remaining in control. My co-presenter tonight is Carrie Johnson. Carrie, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Carrie Johnson, owner of Smooth Transitions of Bergen County, New Jersey. I am a senior move manager and downsizing professional. My team's efforts are to help our clients downsize their belongings for future moves, typically into senior housing, whether it be independent living or assisted living and memory care in a senior living community.
Thank you, Carrie.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're having a little technical difficulty. There we go. Okay, so what I put together is a presentation, basically the 5 mistakes to avoid, what you don't want to do when you're considering moving your elderly parents into another housing situation or aging in place. You want to avoid these so that you can be prepared and have it be, I'm going to call and carry a smooth transition to wherever they are going to. And just a disclaimer, a lot of these slides I'm using are the property of Senior Real Estate Institute, which I am a member. Okay, so let's go through the mistakes quickly, and then we'll delve into each one in more depth. Mistake number 1, waiting till a crisis occurs to have a conversation about housing and care options. Number 2, failing to adequately equip the home with accessibility features, allowing for safe and successful aging in place. Number 3, lack of research into available senior living options. Number 4, trying to manage the liquidation of the estate and personal items alone. And number 5, inadequate or improper documentation. So I'm having trouble with the slide advance, so just please bear with me. There we go. Okay, so having the what if talk. I find when I talk to a lot of the adult children about aging parents who come to me and say, this is the situation, how do I address it? What can we do? Having this talk is a hurdle for them. They don't want to insult their parents. They know their parents are not going to want to move, but maybe they should move. And they're just totally torn about how to address this whole situation. And I found this fact very interesting that studies show that while the majority of adult children say they know what their parents' needs are and wants, it really isn't. It really is not what they want or truly need. And they probably never even had a conversation with them about it. So let's talk about how we get through. Before we talk about how we get to that conversation, let's talk a little bit about the mindset of an elder adult. Unlike decision making in the middle adulthood years when we all want to hurry and rush and make a decision and move on to the next step, people in their later years prefer to take more time and consider their options thoroughly. Rushing a decision or pressing elders to decide before they are ready can create resistance and ultimately impede forward progress. So consider the following conversational framework when opening the dialogue around complex or critical topics. And this is one reason to start early, when your parents are fully capable and independent. Take some time. This topic isn't going to be decided quickly unless you're in a crisis mode, which we all want to avoid. Okay. So how to approach the talk. We went to step 3. Let's start with step 1, approaching the talk. Be aware of opportunities to seed housing related questions. Maybe one of your parents might say, I'll talk about a friend who just moved into an independent or assisted living community. Or maybe there's a new community being built in their neighborhood and everyone's talking about it. Use these as opportunities to open the conversation just for discussion and discovery. Observe intentionally while listening for lifestyle-related likes and dislikes. I had a client just recently who gardening was so important to her. She did not want to leave her garden until she realized that there was a community she could go to that had a garden club. Like 30 other people in that community were in this garden club. And they had a plot to garden, and this made her so happy. So it's knowing certain things like that, knowing the questions to ask when you're looking at different housing options, really getting down to the key of what is driving your parents to not want to move, what's holding them back, what's really the things that they want to hold on to, that they feel they're losing control of so many things. And gather this information and take notes. Open the dialogue. As I said, I started with resist the temptation to delay difficult conversations. They have to be done. So just do it, but do it at a time where everyone is relaxed. Don't do it at a holiday gathering or a birthday party when there's a lot of other things going on. Do it when there's time just to relax and focus on the conversation. Focus on the needs of the elder rather than your own, and make it clear what is driving the conversation. And then proceed as a partner. This is so critical. Offer solutions and explore options. Collaborate rather than parent. Be patient, allowing time to process new ideas and information. Don't expect to get an answer the same day you open the dialogue. Encourage personal decision making. And set up a timeline that you both agree upon to revisit the conversation and discuss more. Here are some conversational starters. I'm not going to read through all of them. If you'd like a copy, there'll be our information will be at the end, and you can request that email something to you, or reach out to us personally if you don't like to leave your email. So let's try that. I know you are okay living where you are right now, but I just wondered if you ever thought about what you would do if you needed more help with managing the house, or if your health declined and you needed more support. Not confrontational, very open, very concerned, very honest. And Mom and Dad, I would hope that you could both live here together forever. But some of my friends are helping their parents who are older than the two of you, and it's just got me thinking about the what ifs. I was wondering if the two of you ever talked about living anywhere other than here. Again, nice, easy move into the conversation. Older adults today have more lifestyle options than ever before, but because they are unaware of the more recent trends, convincing them to explore these options can sometimes be challenging. Also, a lot of other older adults have a mindset of what an assisted living or a community looks like. Or they have they're thinking of nursing homes, or maybe they visited their parents in later years, or their grandparents, and that has totally changed. It is not like that at all today. And the only way that they're going to get through that is to visit, to take them out, show or bring them brochures, show them things. But they need to have some concrete evidence to show them how things have changed. So there's really basically three basic types of moves someone makes at this stage of life, and we're going to go through some housing options for each stage. So we have lifestyle and amenity-based moves. So that might be housing options that would be appropriate for that, would be an active adult community, a resort area, age-restricted neighborhood, co-ops or co-housing communities, single-family home or apartment or condominium with a small yard, newer construction with practical amenities and or universal design features. All of them would be great options. For more of the anticipatory moves, some housing options would be a continuing care retirement community, independent living community, maintenance-free neighborhood or complex, in-law apartment or suite, and current residence renovated to include accessibility features. And then for the need-based or crisis move, which we all want to avoid, it would be assisted living communities, long-term care, healthcare communities, memory care communities, and private residences with 24-hour in-home care. So I want to touch on a little bit about exactly what does aging in place mean. Aging in place is the politically correct terminology as defined by professionals in the field of aging when we refer to what the majority of older individuals say they desire, to stay put. In other words, to remain in their current residence or community instead of relocating. The survey shows that 80% of older Americans, this is their goal, but a much lower percentage actually achieve this. So we need to have things in place for the what ifs if aging in place is not doable when it comes time. And so it's determining priorities. And when I'm on aging in place, I know a lot of people think of aging in place as talking about, so handrails, grab bars, this is what I need. But aging in place is so much more. It's not only your physical environment, it's the nutritional needs. What if mom or dad cannot really cook anymore and eat nutritious food? The social and the psychological needs. If they can't drive, how are they going to get there? How are they getting cut off from their friends and the things they love to go and do? The emotional aspects of possibly living alone when you were 2 and now you're only 1. There's all these other factors that come into aging in place, which I think we seem to not think about. We only think of the physical aspects of the house. And the time to start doing this is when they are independent, especially the physical aspects. Get rid of trip hazards, get rid of falls, get rid of low lighting situations, put in those grab bars. Because if you can prevent a fall before it happens, it may achieve that they can age in place and not have to go into an assisted living community or a rehab community for extended period of time or a short period of time. So we want to look at those things. If we know that this is their goal, start early. Mistake number 3 is, again, our senior living options. They have evolved so much over the decades that now there's a variety of alternatives. And people have to be educated on them. They have to do their research. They have to pick out which communities that will work for them, not only in how they want to, how active they are, and what social what social activities they like to do, but also what financial resources they have and what will work for them. And I think it's important that you make 2 or 3 choices, because sometimes when the time comes, you may not be able to, if you're moving into maybe a smaller house, you may not be able to find one at the time that you need it. Or you may have picked a wonderful assisted living community, but they have a wait list. They can't take you for a year. I don't think you need to think about those things and have a few choices made before you, so that you're not stuck with having just to take anyone. You have one that's going to support what you like to do and where you'd like to be. So some options of this would be planned adult or active communities, 55 plus neighborhoods, exterior maintenance-free communities, in-law suites, independent living communities, assisted living communities, long-term healthcare communities, residential care facilities, CCRC, and subsidized 55 active adult apartments. Those are all very common in our area. Okay, so we're skipping over, if you're keeping track, we're skipping over number 4, because Carrie's going to cover that. And we're going to go right to number 5, and then I'm going to turn it over to Carrie. So number 5 is the important legal documents. Your parents may have their documents in place, such as power of attorney, durable power of attorney. They might have their will. They might have their death certificates, home repair paperwork, all these numerous things. But if they haven't been looked at in years, it's time to have a state attorney look at them in a fresh set of eyes. Things may have changed. They may no longer be valid based on their condition, and they may not have the things for the what-if situations. They may each have a power of attorney for each other, but they may not have, okay, what happens if something happens to both of us? Who's going to have the power of attorney to manage our estate and make our health care decisions for us? So those are things that when they made these documents originally, they may not have thought of. And a good estate attorney will help you think of those now and go through them and hopefully have everything in order for you, so you will not be in a situation without having, so many people are coming down, I hate to say this, with memory care issues these days, that you may not be able to fill out your power of attorney or your will at certain point. So you want to have that conversation and have these things done early. So we're going to go back to step number 4, which is dealing with a house full of possessions. I'm going to let Carrie take the presentation from here, because she does this day in and day out and is amazing at it. So Carrie.
Thank you, Lorraine. Hello, everyone. As I was saying earlier, smooth transitions, we are downsizing specialists. What I failed to mention is that we also pack for our clients, arrange the moving company, and we unpack and settle our clients' new residences, whether they be in a single family home, independent living, or assisted living. So the downsizing is just a portion of what my team accomplishes. I want to talk about the downsizing tonight because it can be so overwhelming, and there are a lot of ways to downsize. But these are the things to keep in mind when sorting through your household items. You want to look at the necessities that you have: furniture, toiletries, kitchen items, clothing. Family heirlooms are extremely important to every family that I've come across, and I've moved about 900 families now. Heirlooms such as china, jewelry, grandma's desk, other furniture. Some family heirlooms are really, really wanted by family. And then there are other family heirlooms that the generations below us are not all that interested in. And that's something to keep in mind. There are also sentimental items, like I had a client recently who was gifted an end table, and her daughter thought it was ugly. And her mother said, "But your father gave this to me on our wedding day, an end table." Sentimental items like that should be kept. Disposables. There are items with no sentimental value, and they're not required to live in your new residence. And as much as we want to keep things out of the landfill and donate what we can, some things just need to be thrown away. Charitable donations come out of every home that I work with, whether it be musical instruments, craft supplies, extra furniture, books. Oh my goodness, the number of books that we all have, an extraordinary amount. And trash. If you're having an estate sale, let the professionals decide what is trash. Believe it or not, estate sale vendors can sell your hazardous waste from the garage. They can sell the cleaners under your kitchen sink. So before you go and start helping your parents clean out their home, speak to a professional like myself or an estate sale vendor before you start cleaning out the house. And of course, there are valuables in every home, marketable items with resale value, whether it be mid-century modern furniture or jewelry that the family doesn't want. There are so many methods of downsizing, but this is one that I recently did, downsized this method with my own mother. I use 3 or 4 different methods depending on my client and what is easiest for them to understand. We're going to talk about downsizing and the 4 feet rules. I just want to give you a quick background as Lorraine was going through her slides. We were talking about how to bring up the conversation of moving your parent, bringing up the conversation without treading on their toes, taking care of matters with your parent before an emergency happens. My mother, we just moved on June 4th from her single family 1-level house in West Lafayette, Indiana. She was scheduled to move on June 4th, and on May 2nd, she fell and broke her hip. Originally, she had a deposit down in an independent living community in West Lafayette, Indiana, but because she fell and broke her hip, and I had noticed some things because we'd been trying to age in place with my mother. I had a response now alert system installed in my mother's house. I had pill packs delivered every other week with the day, the date, and the time to take the pill packs. But I noticed that my mother's memory was failing, and I was worried about her going into independent living, especially a fall situation. And that's exactly what happened on May 1st. So we had to cancel the independent living community because she's 87 years old. And I felt like, and my brothers and sister-in-laws, we felt like the time was right to move her into assisted living. So we switched gears. We had already visited 3 or 4 assisted living communities and 2 independent living communities over the past 3 years. So we just went to plan B very quickly. And it worked out for her. And I'll talk about that a little more later. But this is the methodology that my mother and I used together in her downsizing process. When downsizing, the 4 feet rules for downsizing, I go by 2 rules. Look within 4 feet of where you spend your time in your home on a daily basis. So I had my mother look around. Where are you spending your time? In her recliner, watching TV, at her kitchen sink, doing dishes. We had a camera in her house, so I kind of knew how she was spending her time, and she knew the camera was on her. So we discussed in great detail, looking within 4 feet of where she spent her time. 4 feet rule number 2, if you haven't come within 4 feet of an item in your home within the past 2 years, it probably doesn't need to come with you to your new place. We'll follow that up in a minute. 4 feet rule number 1, look within 4 feet of where you spend time in your home on a daily basis. Prioritize your everyday necessities. It may seem obvious, but the things you need and use on a daily basis are generally within arm's reach. you can generally reach out and touch something that you use consistently every day. Look around your house as you spend your day and note what's within easy reach. To begin the downsizing process with the 4 feet rules, an easy starting place is to look at things kept near your bed. This is a picture of a client's house. I noticed that she had her remote control, lamp, telephone. She had books, a family photo, some medication, her rocker with a footstool right next to her bed. This is where she spent the majority of her time, in her rocker crocheting or in bed. And she lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. This is just one of the bedrooms. So we knew that those things around her bed and around her rocker were extremely important. Clothing is always a difficult place, particularly for women to downsize. Clothing and shoes. Clothing that's in your laundry basket and clothing that you have recently wore are things that you want to keep. In this particular closet in this photograph, this is all of my client's clothing. She condensed it down to this amount of clothing and those pairs of shoes. She actually had a lot of high heels, but all of these shoes are flat soled. The clothing includes her winter and summer wear. I think we had a few sweaters under her bed, but this is the clothing that she wore. I believe it was 3 closets, and she got it down to this much clothing. Clothing that is front and center in your closet is typically what I find my clients wear. We wear 20% of our clothes 80% of the time. Let's think about that. When I open a client's closet, I know what is front and center of me on the hangers and on the floor. Her shoes are what she is wearing or he is wearing 80% of the time. Clothes to the right and to the left, I know are not being worn. And if I look closely at them, the closet doors don't even open that far anymore. And the clothes are dusty. And I can look at the shoes on the floor, and there's usually 4 pair of shoes tumbled on top of each other. Those shoes are the ones that are worn, and the shoes in the back and off to the sides of the closet are probably dusty and haven't been worn in years, and my clients probably should not wear them because they are most likely high heels or improper soles for their unsteadier steps. In the kitchen, in my clients' kitchens, I notice as we age that we leave more things out on countertops. And I don't know if it's a physical issue. I think for me, it's a physical issue and for my clients as well, but it's also a mental thing. If someone is boiling eggs every single day, I know that that saucepan is going to be on the stove top. So I pay particular attention to that. I look at the counters and I think to myself, well, there's a saucepan and 1 small skillet. So they're making individual serving meals. I also notice if they have paper towels, a dish rack, a coffee maker. A lot of people have fruit bowls like this client does on the right-hand side of this photograph. So I pay attention to what is on the counter, which indicates to me in the kitchen that that's what they use on a daily basis. I know that things underneath there on the lower cupboards, pushed way far in the back, they're not using those big soup pots or skillets or the heavy cast iron pieces any longer. They just can't handle it. And when I open their cabinet doors, I notice that their plates and their glasses that they use are typically on the lower shelf. And those are the items that to me are significant in their lives, the lower, closer items within 4 feet of them. I also pay attention to clients who sit at their kitchen tables a lot, which my mother also did. Items around the spot where they eat, watch TV from their kitchen table, relax. I have clients that still craft. I had a client that did a lot of macrame that she's been doing for decades and decades, and she always sat at her kitchen table. When I noticed this particular client at her table, her lighting was terribly poor, and I said, "Can I pull a lamp from the living room?" And that aided her in her macrame work. But these are items that I know are important to my client if they're right there laid out on the table. Also, I have a lot of clients, I was going to say more men than women, but that's not necessarily true. Items on desks. A lot of clients of mine still use their desks to work and pay their bills or to read. As I'm aging, I'm noticing that my clients are still are using laptops and printers. 13 years ago, when I started the business, none of my clients were using laptops and printers. So now I'm very aware that computers need to be moved, printers need to be moved, and a few office supplies as well. In bathrooms, this is probably the number one spot where people do not put things away, only because they use them repeatedly during the day or they use them every day. But if you notice, this bathroom cabinet has drawers. So drawers are a lot of times essential to comfort. And if someone is looking at a senior community without drawers in the bathroom, you can always purchase things like the little black plastic drawers that are in this picture to help keep things at waist height for your family member. But most clients do not put things under their sink except for maybe rolls of toilet paper or bandages that are only used every so often. Most things are on top of the counter or in an upper drawer. Let's talk about the 4 feet rule number 2 to downsizing. If you haven't come within 4 feet of an item in your home within the past 2 years, it probably doesn't need to come with you to your new place. 2 years. This can be very difficult because we've held on to things that were useful to us in the past, or items with sentimental value, or of higher quality items than other items that we own. For instance, an Ames chair or a painting that's oversized that may not fit anywhere else. In general, our stuff that has been buried in our home for months and years may not make the cut to move with you when space and storage is at a premium in your new home. Things that have been up in your attic, garage, those things may not be able to come with you, will certainly not make the cut if you're moving into a smaller 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment. Here are easy examples to downsize or cut so that you do not move these items. Boxes that have been sealed, stacked, or unopened for years. I walked into this particular client's closet, and this is just 2 of the 5 shelves that she had. Not one item from this closet was moved. She quickly perused it and realized she hadn't opened that closet in 5 years. Oh, I take that back. On the floor of that closet were some Bounty paper towels and I believe some Charmin toilet paper. Other than that, that closet was never opened. So right away we knew that is a closet for her family members to go through and pull important papers, and I see yearbooks in that closet that belonged to her sons who were in their 60s. They still hadn't taken their yearbooks. So that was an easy closet for her to say, I'm not moving that with me. Other easy examples to downsize. Filing cabinets of paper that have not been opened or cleaned out for years. I would say 90% of my clients have file drawers they have not cleaned out in 30 years, with no exaggeration. So they usually have maybe 6 inches to 12 inches of files that are really important. Legal papers, of course, wills and things like that. But most statements for utilities and your cable TV and your credit cards, those things don't need to be kept and moved to your new home. Other items to cut: extra clothing that are not in your main bedroom closet. Think about that. Your kids moved out 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and you took over their bedroom closets. I can't tell you how many men and women in my career have confiscated their kids' closets, and their clothing has grown and grown, and they've never weeded anything out. So a lot of people say, well, I have seasonal clothing. Yes, but seasonal clothing can be gone through as well. You can go through your seasonal clothing and pick the 25 top blouses of every season, and that would be plenty of clothing to move with you. This is a picture of a client that had clothing in storage that she had not looked at in, I believe, 4 years. So that was easy. We didn't even open these boxes. I just took them right to donation. Other things that are easy to downsize: anything that you haven't brought down from the attic or up from the basement. That includes holiday decor, grandma's old wedding dress, yearbooks from your kids. I had a client that kept her teaching bulletin boards from 30, 40, 50 years ago. She had every bulletin board of every classroom she had, every seasonal bulletin board. That did not make the cut with her to move. Things in your basement, old broken furniture, most things in your attic and basement you haven't thought about in years. Garages are one of the simplest things to downsize because you're not going to have probably a garage in your new location. You're not going to be bringing garden tools, step ladders, or anything like that. So that is something that an estate sale could handle for you. You might want to bring a snow shovel. If you're still driving, you can put that in your trunk in an ice scraper. But other than that, I don't think there's much in your garage that you would use. Tools or other garage items that an estate sale can quickly sell for you and your family member or neighbors. I had a neighbor that was cutting my mother's lawn and was happy to share some tools with him. Other easy things to clean out: junk drawers and drawers, your dresser drawers and your nightstands. Just because things are useful, like a ball of string, doesn't mean that you need it. When's the last time you actually used a ball of string? And, 5 million twist ties. There are things that you can just outright throw away and no one will miss it. And you might not have room for a junk drawer in your new accommodations. If you let the 4 feet rules for downsizing be your guide, it can help lower your stress while downsizing, and you will end up with the things that you need the most. And you begin by noticing the items within 4 feet of your daily activities. Let yourself off the hook for items that you haven't seen or touched in months or years. Things to consider when downsizing: be realistic. When was the last time I used this item? Like an old printer. I had a client that had 6 printers and only one worked. So we took the one that worked and got rid of the 5 that didn't. When will I ever use this item again? A VHS player? Probably not. You can have VHS recordings transferred to digital recordings. Is this item necessary for my daily living? If you haven't used a blender or an old chair in your house for years and years, why would that make the cut for your new accommodations? Is this item safe for me to use? I would say anyone over the age of 80 should probably not be using a stepladder any longer. I say that with great concern, because even I have fallen off of the stepladder, and I'm not a spring chicken either. So does this item still fit, and is it in style? Get rid of clothing with shoulder pads. If you haven't worn something in 2 seasons or 2 years, excuse me, get rid of it. And is this item functional and easy to use? I would say China is the #1 item that my clients have difficulty understanding has very little value in today's marketplace. So I encourage my clients, if you don't like your everyday dishes, bring a set, a 4-piece place setting of your china and use it as your everyday dishes if you're moving to independent living. And who cares if it goes in the dishwasher? But china is usually one of those items that children and grandchildren do not want, and it is a tough sell. And does this item bring me joy? If you are having items, household things around you that you only have because it was a family member's, for instance, I have my grandmother's old desk. I don't love it, and I'm getting sick of it, and it's brown furniture that's not very attractive any longer. I need to get rid of that item. It no longer brings me joy. What happens if you need help with downsizing? And this is, I don't want to make this an advertisement for me, and Lorraine, you can skip through this quickly, but I can help you with the downsizing process. I offer a complimentary consultation, and I can teach you other methods of downsizing to help you get closer to a clutter-free lifestyle. Here's my contact information if anyone wants to reach out to me, or if you have any questions, feel free to call me at that number, and I'd love to speak to you.
Thank you, Carrie. That was wonderful. Thank you for taking the time to share your expertise with us. A lot of good, helpful tips there.
Thank you.
So we're going to stay on for a few more minutes. If anyone has a question you want to put in the chat that either Carrie or myself can answer, we're also going to put up the ACAP Bergen County phone number and email address if you want to ask us something personal that you don't want to be public. It's right there. So if you'd like to, contact us that way, rather than putting something in the chat right now, that's fine. Just a reminder again, next month will be August 12th. We will be live at the Paramus Library starting at 6 p.m. We are also going to be live streaming from there too, as we realize that August is a very busy vacation month for many around here. So this way, even if you're on vacation, you want to hop on for an hour or so and join the live stream, or watch it at a later date. It'll be recorded. So thank you, everyone who's coming. Does anyone perfect. Okay, so I'm going to read this first question. My mom is still going through decades of photos. What do we do with them? And I'm sorry, but the rest of that is blocked for me. But let me see.
What do we do with them all? Okay. It's interesting this came up tonight, Denise, and thank you for asking the question. I just recently learned of, I'm a member of NASM, the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. There's a network of about 1,100 or 1,200 of us nationwide. And there is all kinds of digital availability to get those photos digitized in the cloud so that family members can share them. And it's recommended that your mother maybe send in 1 or 2 boxes at a time to this. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank now. I just had a conversation with the gentleman last Wednesday. But if you reach out to me tomorrow, I can put you in touch with a digital vendor that you can reach out to and find out how they operate. But they charge by the photo, the slide, or the reel of film. It's all priced out differently. And it might be something that your mom wants to try with just a box of photos. I do not believe they need to be put in any particular order unless she wants it that way. But I realize that photos are one of my clients' biggest worries because they don't want them to disappear. And getting them digitized, I think, is the next phase of her project.
Thank you, Carrie. Does anyone else have a question? Okay. Ellen, is there anything out there? Nope.
I want to thank Alan Jackson tonight for helping us with this presentation. He's been a wonderful part of this tonight, unseen. Oh, Denise, the same thing. The same client or the same company will digitize letters from your father.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, yeah, it's I wish I could remember the name of it. I'm just not in that mode right now. And I think that there's a discount offered if you mention my name, my company, not me, my company. So I want to make sure you get that discount.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. And you have our contact information if anything comes up that you need us for. And enjoy the rest of your evening and the summer.
Thank you. We
See you
appreciate
all in
you.
August. Thank you,
We
Carrie, for
appreciate
your
you
time.
coming tonight.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.